Hi, I've had many people ask me to investigate the claims of this solar-powered electric car, the Lightyear, which is either it's been released or released shortly. Watch the world's global premiere of the world's first solar car, the first solar-powered car, the Lightyear Zero. Check it out. Isn't it nice? It looks pretty funky. And this is a question people ask all the time. Why don't EVs just have solar panels on the roof? And, well, is it viable to actually power a practical everyday electric car via solar panels just on their roof? And the interesting thing is, I actually drive a solar powered car, so I can tell you, and we can run the numbers on this one. So some of the claims are drive for months without charging, charges itself whenever roof absorbs the light, charging becomes a journey, not a destination. Well, I suspect that the journey is going to be parking this thing instead of driving it. Positive change for the planet, blah, blah, blah. Charges anywhere and takes you everywhere, regardless of electrical infrastructure. Our cars are built for grid independence. Built for grid independence. So from all this, they're starting to sort of imply that, you know, under certain circumstances, this car will just, like, charge itself all the time, or at least they're giving you the impression that you'll get a lot of extra range out of this thing. In fact, they tell you here 1,000-kilometer range between plug-in charging moments. We have a new industry term, charging moments. What does that mean? Driving range will vary depending on driving habits, location, and season. 1,000-kilometer range based on 50-kilometer daily commute in Amsterdam during summer. The Netherlands, the nether regions. So A, you've got to be driving this car during summertime with peak solar irradiance. B, you've got to only drive 50 kilometers a day in order to get this like 1,000-kilometer range stuff. And C, you've got to have absolutely perfect skies with no obstacles, no trees, no buildings, no lamp posts casting shadows across your solar panels, because they don't tell you how any of these solar panels work with shading at all. There's no data on that whatsoever. So you've got to assume that, you know, if you get any sort of shading over these things, the performance is going to drop fairly drastically. And you can see here in the design of the car, and you'll notice it's got solar panels on the bonnet here, on the roof, and on the boot here. And of course, if the sun's over here like this, the bonnet is going to be shadowed by the rest of the car, and likewise if the sun's over here, this back part is going to be get practically zero out of it. So this is a totally non-optimal shape. But we've got enough data here, we can do real-world calculations with 5 square meters of patented double-curved solar array panels. Freedom to move anywhere. It's built like no other electric car, charging on the go and gaining up to 70 kilometers of range per day from the sun alone. So that is one of their banner specifications. We can test this. Now, for those who don't know, I actually drive a fully solar-powered car, or at least I try to. I have a 2020 Hyundai Ioniq electric car, which, by the way, has the same or better efficiency in terms of kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers than this Lightyear. But I installed a My Energy Zappi here, which is a solar EV charger tracker. You can get other brands on the market as well. I'll link in the video. Now, I've got an 8-kilowatt solar array on my roof, and any excess energy from that solar array minus anything my house takes, you can see that it puts that energy into the car during the day. So we actually have an ideal lifestyle for a solar powered car like this. We have a huge solar array on the roof. We've got a solar tracking EV charger like this, and we can just leave the car there plugged in during the day, which we do. And then if the sun comes out, we can suck any excess energy from the solar that our house isn't taking and pump it in the car. You can see that we're pumping in 6.1 kilowatts here, and yes, it does drop drastically in winter, and we'll look at the data on that, and you can see that we're pulling no energy from the grid at all. So yeah, I actually already drive a fully solar-powered electric car, or at least I try to. Now, here's the thing, even with an 8-kilowatt solar array, 8 kilowatts, which is an order of magnitude larger. It's actually, well, actually technically 8 times the surface area of the 5 square meters here. I've got 40 square meter solar array on my roof, and even though we actually run with a similar sort of scenario here, we actually only do about 25 kilometers a day on a normal day. We do a little bit extra, then we'll do a bit extra on the weekend and stuff like that. We've got the specifications here, but we actually have a similar scenario to this. We actually only drive drive about 25 to 30 kilometers per day on average. We can, you know, if we've got extra tasks, we can we use a bit there, we use a bit more extra on the weekend. But they actually base their data on a 50-kilometer workday commute in Amsterdam in summertime and a 35-kilometer workday commute in southern Spain in spring and summer. So we actually already drive a solar power car like this with the same efficiency as this Lightyear car, which is, by the way, it's got a 60 kilowatt hour battery pack, 625 kilometer range like this, a nominal range. Then it's about 10.5 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. My Ioniq can actually get as low as 10 just around town like this. And if you don't know, EVs are actually best in stop-start traffic. They're actually not very efficient at all if you drive them long distances down the motorway at high speed. Which is why this 625 kilometer range, well, they claim it drops to 560. That's pretty good, but this has a better drag coefficient. This has a 0.19 drag coefficient compared to my 2020 Ioniq, which has 0.24. But I've measured it and the efficiency drops fairly drastically, like 25 to 30% loss in range if you're just hauling it down the highway all day. So as somebody who already drives a solar powered car, basically equivalent to this in efficiency, using the same like daily routine that they're targeting here in their marketing campaign, we can't actually do 100% solar power because, shock horror, the sun doesn't come out all the time. Even here in Sydney, Australia, with an array that is 8 times the surface area of this one. 8 times. And we find that we probably can get away with 80, maybe 90% of our usage coming from solar. Other times we just have to charge it from the grid because we might have had like a spate of bad weather. Sometimes we can go an entire week without getting much, if any, usable energy at all from the thing. It doesn't come out. Sure, this might be a bit better because ours trips out at 1.2 kilowatts. It won't let us charge under that, but this one might be better, a little bit better in that regard. But no, remember, mine's 8 times the surface area of the solar array of this one. And I'm telling you, as a solar power car owner, we can't drive these things all the time. So based on my own experience and my own numbers that I'm getting trying to do it, I can't drive a 100% solar powered EV even with 8 times the surface area. So I can tell you right off the bat, no, solar powered electric cars are not viable. At best, they're a supplemental technology, and it's very nice. I think all solar EVs should have like built-in solar panels like this, but it's going to cost a lot extra. How much extra? Oh boy. All right, let's order one of these Lightyear Zeros. We don't want regular silver like this. Nah, look at this. We're the EV blog. We want matte metallic copper for an extra 5,000 euros. But look at this. 255,000 euros. This is $250,000 euros for this thing. This would want to be one luxury ass car, let me tell you, for $250,000 euros. This is insane. Obvious. Oh, well, it does have a vegan interior, so, you know. Anyway, no, obviously, you are paying for, well, not only that they're like a startup, they don't make many of these, to be fair, but still, really, you're paying for the wank factor of being able to tell your friends that you drive a solar-powered electric car. And check it out, we can get the aero cover on the back as well. It gives you an extra 12 kilometers free range per battery charge. Yeah, that's less than 2% extra range. Like old school EVs, like they have these aero covers, kind of looks like futuristic, you know. But anyway, you are paying for the fact that this thing is solar powered. So how much solar panel does this thing got? Well, I'm glad you asked. We know it's 5 square meters. We can actually get, let's go to the data sheet of sort of like highest output residential panels on the market. It's a 400 watt jobby here, 22.6% efficient. It's a 400 watt panel that will be at 1,000 watts per square meter solar irradiance. And yep, here it is down here, 1,000 watts per square meter irradiance. That's the standard here. We can get slightly better than that here in Sydney during summertime, but as I'll show you in a minute, the output drops. Like, it can halve in the middle of winter. It's not great. Turns out to have a square meter of 1.76, so we can factor that for 400, and that gives us 1,185 watts for this Lightyear. That's absolute maximum solar output from this under ideal conditions, not counting like, you know, the shape of the thing, like you're never going to get this, okay? It might get you 1100 watts output. It's more likely to be like 1 kilowatt maximum solar output of this thing, and it's not going to be as efficient as one of these things. Because trust me, if it was, if that was the reason that this thing's so expensive that it uses the world's most efficient solar panels, they'd be bragging about it until the cows come home. But their marketing doesn't, so you know it's probably not even going to be as efficient as a regular residential panel. But a good ballpark engineering assumption for this back of the envelope stuff, right? If you're not knocking off at least 25% just based on the shape of the car, then you're not even in the game, right? So I'm going to knock 25% off that 1185 watts. Like, it's going to help, but with 5 square meters of solar panel, like, you're not even going to get close to this sort of stuff. Trust me, I drive a solar powered car in Sydney under Ideal with a huge solar array, and I still can't do it. I've got to classify this as a helpful gimmick, but you know, it's not worth $250,000 helpful. So let's do it for winter time here, which is June here in Australia. Let's say, okay, the gold here is my production. So this is like the entire day's production, okay? So you're assuming you leave the car there for the entire day, okay? And we're even going to be incredibly generous and totally ignore the shape of this thing. So any losses due to the shape, we're just going to assume it's as good as the solar array on my roof, which it won't be, but if we can bust it with absolutely perfect assumptions, then in practice, it's going to even be more busted. So we need to scale this down to the light year because it's 8 times smaller. We did that based on the square area. I've got about 40 square meters of solar panels on my roof, whereas the Lightyear 1 is only 5 square meters. Once again, I think it's actually less than that because of the shape of the car and everything else, right? There's losses there. It's simply, if you've got a shape like that, if you've got sun coming from here, you're not getting much over here and vice versa, right? So divide 20 by 8, that's 2.5 kilowatt hours per day. So divide that 2.5 kilowatt hours divided by the efficiency, 10.5 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, you get an answer of 23.8 kilometers extra range per day. 23 kilometers per day. That's nowhere near the 70 that they claim. But this is winter time. Let's do summer. Now, it's actually hard to get a figure for January. It's all over the shop because we had really bad weather earlier this year. But look, you can see that it peaks around 40 kilowatt hours produced. So I'm going to run with 40. Once again, we're going to take absolute best case figures. There's no cloud whatsoever, but you can see how like a cloudy day can easily halve it. It's like, well, more than halve it, right? We're down like 14 kilowatt hours instead of 40, but we'll run with 40. This ain't looking good for Lightyear's claims. Let me tell you, 40 kilowatt hours per day. Scale it down to the size of the Lightyear, so divided by 8, that gives us 5 kilowatt hours per day. And if you divide that by the 10.5 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, you're only getting 47 kilometers a day extra for this magical solar powered car, which they claim right up here gives you an extra gaining up to 70 kilometers of range per day from the sun alone. No, it won't. I don't know where they're getting that figure from, unless they're using much more efficient cells than, you know, the best ones that you can get for your residential roof that we looked at there. There's no way that you can say that a solar panel that's shaped, curved like this car is better than my rooftop. You know, I don't have an ideal angle, but at least it's like angled like towards the sun. It's a proper residential solar array. If I had this thing in my driveway and there was no shading at all, it was absolutely perfect. No, I'd only get, even in summertime here in Sydney, Australia, we're famous for our sun, on a good day, we'd still only get an extra range of 47 kilowatt hours. That doesn't include any losses. That's assuming that, you know, this is absolutely like as good as a residential rooftop array, which it's not. That 70 kilometer range claim, nah, don't believe it at all. But having said that, if you actually only do 20, 30 Ks a day, something like that, and you have perfect conditions, then this thing might be able to power itself for a significantly long time. It's a nice supplemental technology, but no. Like, I wouldn't be quibbling over this if it wasn't €250,000 and hyped up, put on the pedestal as this, you know, solar-powered EV. Like, they try to be realistic in their claims here by only saying up to 70 Ks and stuff like that, extra range and 1,000 kilometers with plug-in charging moments and stuff like this. But no, clearly they're marketing this to people thinking that they're going to get a huge amount of extra range because it's solar, and you're not. The best you're going to get out of this, I reckon, it's going to be under. It's going to be significantly under 50 kilometers of range per day. That's ideal conditions. And as somebody who drives a solar-powered EV in practice, I can tell you, yeah, there's not as much sun as you think. And if you don't believe me, I capture all of my solar data, and here is my solar production data from my 8 kilowatt system. 2022, right through the first perfect day I found was 20th of March. I'm here in Sydney, Australia. Sure, we've had a bad run of weather lately, which hasn't been terrific, but here's a time lapse. So watch the scale over here. It's going to change. Here you go. We've got, look, right? So this is actually going backwards in time from today's date when I'm recording this. And yeah, you might get the occasional perfect days where you'll get the perfect curve like this, but like most days, you're going to get some sort of, shading. Clouds are going to come in and out and all sorts of stuff. And like, this is under ideal conditions with the solar panels on my rooftop, right? This is not your car. You're driving around everywhere. You're driving past buildings and trees and all sorts of things. Come on. Right? No, you're never going to get these perfect figures which they base their, 70 kilometers extra per day on. These are just BS marketing numbers. So they did mention southern Spain down here. So let's go to a solar irradiance map. We can select Spain here. 1,000 watts per square meter should be pink. Oh, yeah? Yeah, it's getting up there. Okay, so we can get our 1,000 watts per square meter. Don't know about the nether regions, though. Unfortunately, doesn't have the Netherlands. So anyway, that's in the middle of summer, okay? This is like June down here, okay? Let's choose like January because of apparently the Earth is round. Will we get any purple? Will we get any purple in wintertime? Nah, we're not going to get it. See, there's no pink days here at all. Check this out. I just realized that we actually have enough data in their marketing numbers on this claim here that we can actually work out the efficiency of their solar panels at best. Remember, these are marketing numbers. They're always going to be the absolute best. You return to your car after 2 hours. You see that the sun boosted your range by 20 kilometers while you were away. Excellent. So now we know the efficiency of this car, which is 10.5 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. So get your confuser out and work with me. We've got 20 kilometers, which is 1/5 of the 100 kilometers. So we divide the 10.5 kilowatt hours by 5. That gives us 2.1 kilowatt hours. So those solar panels in the 2 hours must have put 2.1 kilowatt hours into the pack. So if we normalize that for 1 hour, we divide that by 2. So that's 1.05 kilowatt hours. And then we can divide that by the square area to get the watts per square meter. So we divide our 1.05 kilowatt hours by 5 square meters, and that gives us 210 watts per square meter. You remember the number before? The residential panels, they're 235 watts at 1,000 watts per square meter solar irradiance. So yeah, they're under that. So they're not as good as residential panels. So that's actually a reasonable claim there. I probably don't doubt that. Of course, this is the perfect time of day in summertime. The sun's directly overhead for the peak 2 hours in summertime. Perfect at 1,000 watts per square meter. So yeah, you could actually get your 20 kilometers of range in 2 hours. But once again, the sun moves over the sky. Unless you've got tracking solar panels, you lose a lot of extra energy based on that, because they're fixed solar panels, unless you want to like follow the sun angle around driving your car. But even then, nah. Once it starts setting, you're screwed. So some of their claims like that one, I think that's pretty much spot on. You could actually get that in summertime. So, but unfortunately, that contradicts with, if you go down here to the actual specifications, up to 70 kilometers extra range per day. So if the 2 hours in absolute peak time gives you an extra 20 kilometers, where do you get the extra 50 kilometers? Remember, your production curve is going to be like this. So if you're talking about your 2 hours peak in there in the middle of the day and you get 20 kilometers based on their own numbers, where do you get the extra 50 kilometers from? So let's take from, say, 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. here. That's during the peak period. That gives us 20 kilometers extra range. How much does the extra area under the curve here on either side give us? Well, I've done a printout here, so hopefully you can see that. And, you know, I've roughly, like, triangulated, like, the areas there, roughly, give or take. And, yeah, it works out to 61.6 kilometers. So that's getting towards that 70 kilometers. I mean, you might have a slightly extended curve, because I'm using a perfect curve here from March and stuff like that. But even then, we are not taking into account the curvature of this thing. Right, which is like, it's quite substantial, like both in sort of both axes, actually this axis and the longitudinal axes as well. So yeah, no, it's not going to get 70. So based on, so they're actually their own numbers in there, based on that and a typical production solar curve. No, you're not going to get that 70 kilometers that they claim. And then you've got the main claim here: drive for months without charging. I mean, you know, that's the banner claim. It's like, yeah, nah. So this banner spec here of gaining up to 70 kilometers of range per day from the sun alone, is this bullshit? Well, not really. You run the numbers on that at 11 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. You're only talking like 6.36 kilowatt hours of capacity. Can you get that? Yeah. It's possible to get that. So under ideal conditions in summer with the correct solar insolation, when it's parked correctly and angled correctly and everything like that, yeah, you can probably get this. And if you're only, let's say you're doing half of that, let's say you're only going the 35 kilometer thing per day, and you're parking it at an office that has like a big parking lot outside with no trees or obstructions, and then you park it there for the 8 hours that you work, and it's, you know, it's not a cloudy day or something like that, yeah, you probably could, in theory, drive this thing forever. Right? I don't want to give them extra marketing, but yeah, like it's possible, right? So the claims they're making aren't bullshit, right? Like, they are possible, but just like with everything, it's like the consumer who reads this stuff isn't going to, even though it's in here in the banner spec, 70 kilometers of range per day from the sun alone, and you might think, oh yeah, I only do about 50 Ks or something like that, but then they don't think about how it's parked, where it's parked, when it's parked, bad days, you know, cloudy days, clouds coming in and out and stuff like that. They don't cater for the angle that it's parked at and the angle of the sun and everything else. And it's just like, all you need is like for one lamppost or something to, you know, the shadow of one lamppost to pass over the car, and it could ruin, you know, you could lose, you know, a huge capacity of your charging capacity per day. You can come a gutser there. There's so many ways. Any winter time, like forget it, especially in the Netherlands. This is not like, no, right? But hey, it's novel, it's cool, people will pay their €250,000 for this thing, and it looks pretty funky. It's got like a huge boot in it, like 610 liters or something. It's pretty funky, you know. If it was reasonably priced, 640 liters trunk. What's this trunk? American trunk rubbish. It's a boot space. Yeah, like it looks like a nice car. $250,000 though. No, you're paying for the marketing wank of that it's, so, you know, the world's first solar powered production car or whatever. And it's like, yeah, other EVs on the market have small solar panels on them, but they're usually used to charge the auxiliary, the 12 volt lead acid auxiliary batteries, which all EV cars have. I assume this one's also got one as well. Do they use it to charge up that as well? But the novelty here is that it charges the main battery pack. And in theory, yeah, look, I'm not going to doubt any of their numbers. Like, you could probably get them right under ideal conditions and stuff. So but the devil's in the detail. No, solar powered cars are not going to be a thing. No, this thing's not going to be revolutionary. In practice, you're going to find that it's meh. It's kind of nice to know that you're charging it during the day, but if you've got a house like mine with solar power, you're better off just installing like a Zappi or equivalent thing like I've got, and then powering it from your excess solar during the day. Or simply, you know, if you're at a company, they should install huge solar panels over the parking lots, and then everyone can just plug in, you know, your regular charger, and boom, you know, you get free power that way. That'd be absolutely fantastic. But putting 5 square meters of solar panel on the non-optimal, totally non-optimal, where even the car shades itself, like, no, come on. No. It's just, no, it's not going to be a practical thing. Never will be. It's one of those things like, no, these solar panels would have to increase in efficiency by an order of magnitude to make this be a realistic thing. But, you know, look, some people might have the circumstances where this is good. As I said, you go to work, big parking lot out in the sun, you come home and you park it, and you've got a big open driveway and you can park it there, and you can, you know, like, yeah, maybe, you know, but it's easier simply just to plug it into your house and charge all your work and charge it up from solar, because that's a thing you do. I do that with my EV. My EV is practically 90+% solar powered. No worries. In fact, I'm better off actually slapping just 2 of these 400-watt panels on the roof of my Ioniq. I think that'd give basically the same output as this Lightyear 1 thing. And this thing, like, you know, it's very nice, but it's actual efficiency, I expected better efficiency out of this. 10.5 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. I get that in my Ioniq. I can get 10 or even under just general commuting around Sydney here in my Hyundai Ioniq EV. So this is not as efficient as my Ioniq, really. It's certainly no better. So, And that's my conclusion for the Lightyear 1, the world's first solar-powered production car. Like, it looks like it's going to come out. It's sexy. People will buy it because people have got money. You know, €250,000. Good on ya. Sexy car. But, yeah, nah. So there's 2 questions here. Are solar-powered electric cars like a viable thing? Do they give you any decent increase in range, or can you potentially use them as solar power only? And the question is, from someone who owns one with an 8 times bigger solar panel, no, not really. These are, as I said, supplemental only technology, and it's very nice. I think every EV should actually have solar panels integrated like this, you know, barring the integration cost and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just nice. There are some cars with small solar panels which charge the 12-volt auxiliary battery in this. Don't know if this one has one, but yeah, they're supplemental technology. Look, you can only get 5 square meters. Roughly on an average largish size car. You can't do it. You cannot beat the laws of physics, Captain. Okay, you're not going to suddenly, even if you had double or triple the amount of efficiency in your solar cells, which, you know, it's not going to happen anytime soon. There is an actual limit to it. You're still not there. I'm 8 times the size of this, and I still can't get 100% solar usage. So no, solar powered cars are not viable. It's just supplemental tech. As for this Lightyear 1, its claims are, yeah, typical marketing wankery. Yeah, you can probably claim that they're true numbers under certain circumstances, but obviously you read their marketing, it's designed, unless you actually go in and think about the numbers and, you know, try and calculate things and what it actually means. And you're not going to get this 70 kilometers per day. You're not going to get that in practice. It's just not going to happen. And even if you did, it's not a huge amount anyway. So, like, no. So no, it's just marketing. It's a very nice car, but come on, the price of this thing, they are really taking the piss at $267,000 US. And by the way, thanks to one of my viewers, Bob C, he mentioned the Aptera here, and I will do an extended version of this video, by the way, on my second channel and on my Odyssey channel as well. It'll have some extra technical detail on the Lightyear and also a quick overview of this Aptera. But this is 1/10 the price of the Lightyear. This is from $26,000, and the efficiency of this thing is not a huge amount greater. It's only 40% better than my Hyundai Ioniq, and this is like whiz-bang like they do for the World Solar Challenge in the Australian Outback and stuff like that. It's really funky design, but this starts from $26,000 US. But even with this whiz-bang tech here, yeah, you're still not going to be driving around in a solar-powered car all day, every day. It's just, no. And as for integrating the cost of solar panels into something like this, well, I can imagine that, yeah, it does actually cost a lot, but, no, the $260,000, they're just taking the piss on this one. You're just paying for the marketing wake. This Aptera one from $26,000, it shows that you can nicely integrate solar, but this is not the same class of production, car that, a familiar practical car that you're used to. So will this Aptera solar-powered car, which is quite cheap at 26, or starts from $26,000 US, different battery pack levels, of course. The battery pack is one of the main costs here, but like doesn't look funky. It's not, your practical everyday car. But if you want the absolute utmost efficiency, you want that wank factor of having a solar-powered car. Can this do the business? Well, we can actually run the numbers on here. Unfortunately, it's Yankee, so they mix up miles and anyway, claim to travel up to 1,000 miles on a single charge. That's 1,600 kilometers. Up to 40 miles of solar powered driving per day. That's 64 kilometers per day. But once again, right, these are not staggeringly better numbers than the Lightyear one. The Lightyear one was claiming 70. Actually, it was like up, increased range of like 70 kilometers per day. This one's actually only 64. So, 3D printing, artificial intelligence, all this sort of stuff, right? It's really wanky, right? If I had some spare coin and it was available here and a place to park it, yeah, I might get one just for kicks, right? Anyway, we can take a look at it here. So there you go, 26,000, escape the gas pump and the charging station. Equipped with 700 watts. There you go, it tells you, right? 700 watts. A solar panel. So yeah, it's slightly less than the Lightyear one, but this is going to be a more efficient car. Just look at the aerodynamic shape and everything, right? It'll have low rolling resistance. Look at the rear tire, single rear tire on the thing, right? So this thing is really going to be more efficient. But how much more efficient? The future is now. We can download the specs. Whoa, look at that. Look at that. Look at that airflow. Oh, look at this. 0.13. The Lightyear one is 0.19. My Ioniq is 0.24 for reference. And there's the the Solar Racers, as I said, in the Australian Outback, 0.07. So, they're really, it's really nice. It weighs 65% less than other electric vehicles, etc., etc., right? But what we want to know, 25 cubic feet of storage, right? It's not a practical everyday car, but you're going to turn. Oh, is that a camping? Is that a camping add-on? No, that's it. It almost looks like a little camping tent add-on, but I don't think it is. Like it's just photoshopped on. That's really funny. I don't know what that is. With all-wheel drive, vectorized torque control, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, here's the spec sheet for it. Okay, so it's up to even 46,000 US. Wow. And that's for the 100 kilowatt hour pack version. Wow. Okay, so here's the options. It makes no difference. It's going to be the same. So it's a 1,000-mile range with a 100 kilowatt hour pack. Okay, so 1,600 kilometers with 1,000 kilowatt hours. So we want to convert that to a 100 kilometer range. So 1,600 divided by 100 kilometers is 16 times. So we want to take the 100 kilowatt hour pack, divide that by 16. That gives us 6.25 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. So once again, as I said, my Ioniq can do 10. So this is like not even 40% better than my Ioniq in terms of efficiency, because that's what it's all about with EVs. How much energy does it use per 100 kilometers? Here in Australia, it's kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, and for internal combustion engine cars, it's liters per 100 kilometers. Like my Nissan Dualis, for example, on the highways, it can get 5 liters per 100 kilometers, 5 liters per 100 Ks, as we call it. And that's, pretty efficient. And this is the difference between EVs and internal combustion engine cars. Internal combustion engine cars are more efficient when you're running them high speed, flat, on the motorway for long distances, whereas EVs, their efficiency plummets when you drive them high speed, long distance, flat on the thing. But the internal combustion engine cars are horrible in stop-start traffic. EVs are excellent in stop-start traffic. So they're complete opposite. So it's only 37% more efficient than my Ioniq, which is my benchmark, right? And my Ioniq's just like an ordinary everyday EV. It's got pretty good drag coefficient and everything else. But so this whiz-bang thing, right? Once again, but you can only put 700 watts of panels on these things. There's only so much you can do. You cannot beat the laws of physics. It's just never charge solar array. Yeah, it's got 3 square meters. There you go, 3 square meters instead of 5 square meters at that was on the Lightyear. So, like, it's only 700 watts. There's only so much you can do with 700 watts when your efficiency is only 37% better than a Hyundai Ioniq. But anyway, the good thing about this is that it's relatively cheap. And funky, right? So yeah, I don't know why anyone would buy the Lightyear. That's taking the piss, really. You're gonna have more money than sense, but you know, people will buy it just to say, you know, I'm driving around a solar-powered electric car. So yes, you might start seeing more solar panel integration just for really marketing, and it's just nice to be able to think that you're getting, you know, a lot of extra range, but in practice, no, it's just a supplemental kind of stuff. It's a shame, but, you know, can a bit laws of physics, Captain. Solar-powered EVs are kind of nice and funky, you know, to say you drive around in a solar-powered car. I do. But, yeah, nah, is my official verdict. Anyway, leave your thoughts and comments down below. Catch you next time.